Welcome to our last podcast episode of Optiverse for 2024. We'll be chatting to Grobbelaar about building a unique company such as Opti-Num. Cool. Welcome, Grant.
Thank you.
We finally got you on the show.
I was waiting to see when I'd be cornered.
Best for last. So let me do a little introduction for you, of you, but I think you're going to fill the gaps where you need to. So Grant is one of our executive directors at Opti-Num, currently acting as CEO, but also very well known, at least from me personally, as someone that many people go to regardless of the problems. So a bit of a jack of all trades. Every time I'm in a meeting and everyone's sort of hit a brick wall, everyone goes, maybe we should ask Grant. Maybe he knows. Maybe he knows that person. I think he's done this before. Yeah. So welcome, Grant.
Thank you. Thank you.
Today's episode, we're going to be chatting about Opti-Num, really. Who are we? What are we about? And very obvious place to start is, where did we come from?
Sure. So it goes back, 32 years now?
My age, yeah.
Yeah. I always got to keep working out. I know the start date, and I've got to keep calculating. So it started off as a couple of postgrads at Wits University. I'll be honest, we didn't have this grand vision of where we would end up 32 years later. We started off using MathWorks tools, MATLAB and Simulink in our research, and we saw the massive value these tools could add. And we also thought, yeah, this is a bit of fun. Yeah, we can learn how to build a business, and we can use the tools at the same time, and that's how we started.
So you were based at Wits in probably one of those postgrad rooms that became an office of sorts.
Yep.
I'm assuming that the continuation of the use of MATLAB, that spread happened because probably some of your fellow peers or colleagues even were wanting some of the software for their own research. How did that spread? I mean, you created a business, but how did it grow?
It was interesting is that MathWorks is the tool often used in engineering, and we started to more and more people. It's quite new at the time. It'd only been going for a couple of years, but some of the research organizations started to use the tools. It was used throughout the universities, and it started to spread a little bit. What we realized is we created this business, and we said to each other every year, by the way, one day we'll get real jobs. But here we are, 30 odd years later. We're still representing MathWorks and selling MATLAB and Simulink, but we've evolved a little bit. We've created a high-tech engineering consultancy on top of and expanding on that business.
So let me connect those dots there. So you mentioned there wasn't much of a vision when you started. You guys were sort of going with the flow, building up some really good experience, learning what a business is probably about. To where we are today, we've got offices in Hyde Park in Joburg, South Africa, and we've got easily over 40 technical people in the company that we call consultants. We've got a relatively large sales team I'm a part of. When did that transition happen from, was there a turning point that you can think of in the past 32 years where at least one of those changes were made?
I think it's kind of a continuum. I think the very first thing that we had, I guess our first part about growing the business was hiring our first employee, and then starting to rent offices. That sort of really focuses the mind, makes you sort of realize that, how important cash flow is and how to make sure there's a funnel. And so that was the starting point many, many years ago. And then what happened as we became a more of a consultancy is that we started to notice that firstly, we were getting more and more skills internally. We already had a number of people on the technical side who were supporting the tools, but their experience was growing, their knowledge was expanding. And we started to see that our clients were starting to rely on us a little bit for more and more support beyond supporting just the tools. They were looking for, some of the taking advantage of some of our knowledge in the industries we were working in. And we started to see, in addition to that, that our clients didn't always have the capacity or all the skills that they needed to be able to achieve their goals. And that was a real turning point where we saw the opportunity to start to build a consultancy within the organization. So that was the one. And then after that, as we started to grow organically, we realized we needed to create a little bit more structure. Initially, we were very much like a startup where everybody did everything.
Very like startup.
Yeah,
which is normal.
The normal thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody dabbled everywhere. And then we realized we needed to create a bit of structure. And we still liked the idea of people being involved all over the place, but we added some structure. And we started to create a business which was essentially a lot more scalable, and a lot more sustainable. So those are the kind of the major stages. We've also had a couple of points where we sort of say, reevaluate where we are, what the future looks like, where do we focus? For example, just recently we've now thought very carefully about what our competencies are that we offer the market. And we speak now a lot about the three areas in artificial intelligence and model operations and simulation engineering.
Yeah.
It's those kinds of evolutionary steps. Nothing, it's always just a bit of evolution, and we'll continue that way.
I mean, it would be fair to say, knowing the MathWorks set of tools and having had such a long history of using them, not just selling them internally, you could go crazy. I mean, these tools are so widespread. So would it be fair to say that Opti-Num, at many points in time over the past few years, had to always take another step back and sort of reevaluate what's more critical to us as a company in South Africa? What do our clients need? What are we seeing in industry? So we've always made those changes, evolving as
you're spot on. I think it's spot on. It's the one thing is to always look to say, well, what does the market need? What do they want at the moment, and to try and make sure that we can address that.
So, I mean, just to stick on that point of the market and the multiple industries that we've worked across, how do you think that has enriched Opti-Num's own experiences, but also the capabilities that we've grown within the company?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. If we think about, as you say, the tools can be used across multiple industries. I think it's to our advantage that we've been able to work in these multiple industries. You realize that engineering and science, the language of mathematics spans all of them. Yeah. And really what you can learn in one, you can apply to the other. Off the top of my head, I can think about what we've learned in financial services, we've applied to the telco industry. Another one that immediately comes to mind as I think about it is, what we learned in safety critical code in the aerospace and defense industry. To be able to get planes to fly, we're able to apply to safety issues in mining operations. So it's that kind of cross-industry pollination, I guess you can say, that we've been able to take advantage of, and that's been very beneficial for us.
Okay. You mentioned some of the projects in these industries. Is there anyone that springs to mind that's probably one of your favorites?
Oh, I have so many favorites.
Top three. Top three favorite projects.
Oh, goodness.
I know it's difficult. I mean, you've been here for the whole time of the company.
It's really, really difficult. I think I'm not going to answer your question directly. I think the one thing that stands out is we right at the start of the company, we always spoke about doing cool stuff. Yeah. And doing cool stuff is something that's, we still believe in. And I think if I look at the projects, we are in an incredibly fortunate position to be able to be right at the cutting edge of technology, to use the latest technology to solve real business problems. Whether we're solving innovative problems in, as I said, telecommunications or or credit in financial services, or mining operations, or aerospace and defense in getting UAVs to fly, or doing safety critical vision systems. I think there are so many great projects, but they all use this technology, and they allow us to do cool stuff. And I think that's what really stands out more than anything.
Okay. I mean, hearing you speak about that now, a couple of questions come to mind. So I guess the first one is more of a comment. It's as if Opti-Num never really left that postgraduate environment, from the sense of we immerse ourselves in very innovative research, design, and development type of projects. It's as if clients, and please comment on this, it's as if the clients that we come across, or who have come to know us really well, want to come to us and ask us, could we put our heads together and figure out this problem that we've been sickling with for the longest time? Like, we just don't know. Is there another way to think about this? Would you say that that's sort of how Opti-Num has also sort of grown in a way?
I think it's a good question. I think there's multiple facets to that question. I think we've been incredibly fortunate in that our clients have been able to rely on us to create these innovative solutions. But to be able to, for our clients to rely on it, the consulting business is a trust business, right? And there's two parts to it. You've got to have quality delivery in the first place. So, I haven't spoken about yet. We should talk a bit about the people. But, having a culture of quality means that you can deliver quality projects that make a big difference to your client's business. And as that happens, you get the trust to be able to take the next project and innovate a bit further. So I think, and then we're able to rely on our, let's say, our engineering background or our mathematical background, and our research expertise to be able to push the next project. But I think there's this combination of both, and it's really important, is this quality first, which allows you to innovate and produce, create the next project.
So, well, let me take a stab at it. I mean, all of this leads me to a question that could be asked: is what is differentiating Opti-Num in the markets across all of these different industries? And I think you've sort of alluded to part of the answer, being people.
Yeah, it's people. It's all about people. Right from the start, we realized that it's the people that make up the business. And Adri, you'll know, when I talk at quarterly meetings, I think I always end the same way. To me, the whole business is about the people at Opti-Num. And I think we've been very deliberate in the way we've looked for new talent, way we've tried to help people grow, the way we've tried to retain people. And what we really want to do is create a culture of growth and learning. And I would like to think that the people we have here enjoy working here because they get to work with very smart people. They get to interact and learn from others, and they get to grow. The other thing is, of course, we want to create a culture of, being able to create your own career, find your own niche, grow in your own space. And that is very important to me in the business, it's the people. If I just think about the team that work with me, it's about having people with unique skills, diverse in their thinking, diverse in their backgrounds. And that's important. We want people who don't all think the same way, and to be able to together put our heads together and solve complex problems.
So, talking about a company as diverse as Opti-Num, people, the talent, the capabilities that we have, and the fact that we work across an equally diverse industry, having such wonderful people and getting to do the cool stuff as projects, surely there's some roadblocks or hiccups that you've experienced along the way. Over the past 32 years that Opti-Num's been growing the space, every business goes through some, I don't know, tough times or there's
Yeah, you,
challenges ahead.
yeah, you're so right. I mean, businesses come, they go, and economies go in cycles. Yeah, there's good times and there's bad times. I think what you have to be is a little bit resilient through the
Oh,
bad times. Resilience is, if anybody starts a business, resilience is perhaps the one of the key things. But what you're going through these cycles, I think you've realized that you've always got to try and keep your eye on all the key factors. You need to, as a business, from a pure business perspective, you got to keep your eye on the bottom line. You've got to watch the cash flow. Make sure that you're not distracted by what else goes along. You've got to keep on thinking about the people. How do we retain the talent within the organization? Um, and keep on thinking about, are we going in the right direction? Do we need to evolve slightly? Do we need to tweak? But I think that's all part of it. And again, it's what makes it, looking back, so satisfying.
okay. I mean, I think the Tabo has the saying when we work on one of the projects that we've been working on this year, and we've been thrown some of these challenges, right? And also learning a lot about sort of our own clients' business and how it relates to ours, and where do we synchronize on these things. And when the times got tough, Latabo always he'd send me a GIF on Teams actually. Tough times never last. Only tough people do.
I like it. I like
I
it.
think that's a nice summary.
I might steal it.
You can throw it. You can throw it at Latabo.
That's
If
right.
he
I'll make a
complains to
note.
you one day, throw it back at him, and then he'll ask you if you got it from me. Okay, great. So, I mean, thinking about what you're saying, if you were in a conversation with someone who was an entrepreneur, had their own business, someone young, um, is there any piece of advice that you could give them about running a business in general?
Ooh, I mentioned being resilient, right? So
Mm,
that's the one. Um, Actually, thinking about it, uh, something that we learned maybe a bit late in the is to take a lot of on external advice. That's the one thing I would tell any person is talk to whoever is willing to talk to you, and ask for advice externally. Take their criticism and suggestions seriously. If I look back at the people who have supported us from the outside, they have a different view to what you do when you go, day in and day out, you go focused
get
the
that
same.
tunnel vision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And if I think about the business, where we've had step changes, it's where we've taken that advice seriously and acted on it. So it, I think it might sound unusual given, if you were a startup in a tech space, but that's what I would say if anybody asked me.
It kind of brings to mind, I've always heard a lot of people say, like, business is not personal. Um, and hearing you give that piece of advice, take it on seriously, take people's criticism and suggestions on. I guess very naturally you could add, don't take it personally upon yourself as a reflection of who you are. But I wonder how true that statement really is. Working for a company like Opti-Num, this place becomes a very personal
Mm.
place, but I think in a good sense.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think I think you want to have relationships internally, professional ones with your clients, where
Mm.
it's really about sort of respect and valuing opinions and feedback. And I think it's part of the culture here is we want to be able to, make comments or provide input, which is taken in the way it's often meant. It's not meant personally, whether if it's bad, so it's easy to think, oh, does this reflect on me? But I think the very fact that somebody feels that they are comfortable enough to give criticism, which perhaps criticism is the wrong word, suggestions which for improvement. And I think that's if we can have a culture where that's accepted and important, and being able to be shared freely, I think that's a great place to be.
Okay. A couple of last questions for
Yeah.
the episode. Um, we've spoken quite a bit about our own company, but do you have any anything you'd like to say about the kinds of clients that we work with and the relationships that we've formulated with them?
We have been incredibly fortunate to have such amazing relationships. I've got to know people over the many years who we still communicate. You know, I think if you think about a consultancy, it's really a two-way business. They trust your ability to deliver quality results, but of course, you are trying to influence and improve their business. So, your clients have a vested interest in your success. And it's that collaboration where there's a vested interest in making sure the project is successful and improves the business. And that's kind of the sweet spot. When you get there,
then you kind of just feed this.
And the relationship grows and improves. And I think that's what, and that's what also gives me a huge kick when you see that. That was really good and it really made a difference.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot this year where we've picked up a project in a place where we haven't been doing consulting for a long time, relatively long time, since COVID. And the relationship with the client has gone through so many stages of change over time, where we've gotten to the point where it's sort of, we know each other now, we understand each other's values, and there's almost no question of us continuing that work. It's just finding out what we want to do together and what those cool projects are that we'll end up doing. And if I look to the future, I can see how definitely in 3 to 5 years' time, it's not going to look the same in terms of what we've been doing practically in the consulting work. But what might have a similar feel is that relationship with that client.
Right.
It's just going to go deeper. And I mean in a professional and business sense. But I guess something to tack on to that is I find that through Opti-Num's own values and culture and how we are able to show up as employees in the company, for me, when things have gone well with my clients, it's because I've been able to show up in the same way that I do here, but with them. And that's where I have my strongest relationships in business.
Right.
And for me, those are our return customers. That's our return business. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So talking about the future, couple of last questions here. I don't know if you're going to want to answer this. Where do you see Opti-Num in the next 5 to 10 years?
I firmly believe we're on the right trajectory. I think we're doing the right things. We'll continue to represent MathWorks and sell MathWorks tools to the industry. We'll continue to expand and scale our consulting business. I think if anything, I think we'll look to do a little bit more work globally. I think in South Africa, we're in a unique position to produce graduates and postgraduates who are highly skilled and broadly capable.
Very skilled.
And I think there's a huge opportunity because it's the skills the world needs at the moment and the world wants. And if we can be in a position to provide those sorts of skills and services more broadly than what we do now, that would be my goal for the next little while.
I'm gonna wait for your kickoff meeting for 2025 because I think some of that's gonna come out.
Oh, it will.
And then I think last question for the episode. What defines success for Opti-Num, for you? Are they different? Are they the same?
Ooh. I don't think it's changed. I think we've always wanted a company which is sustainable. It scales at a moderate rate. I think we've always wanted a place where we have great people who can grow, learn, learn from others, learn from our clients, and shape their careers, create their own niches, and continue to work on cool stuff. And to me, that would be success.
Not the bottom line profit margin.
It's always been about the people.
Yeah.
And will continue to be about the people.
So if people, I mean, in the 7 years that I've been here, I've seen people come and go through Opti-Num. But listening to sort of what's important to you and what's important to Opti-Num, how we are defining success as a company, it's if anyone were to come in and then leave again, you'd probably want them to walk away having had that Opti-Num journey, thinking about that was a place where I grew.
Exactly.
And that was a place where I learned stuff, and I got to learn it doing cool things.
Exactly. And what you need to realize is that people come, they learn, they will progress, they will look for other opportunities, or they wanted to grow in other areas, and that's great. As long as they've had the opportunity to learn and grow. And some people will come back, and that's fantastic too. But I'd like to think that everybody who's been through the journey has exactly what you've said. I had the opportunity to really learn and do cool stuff.
And that's true for your own personal journey.
Oh yeah.
You learn something new every day.
I learn something new every day. I came to chat to you from working with a team on doing a little bit of techie stuff this morning on a cool project.
Yeah, you really are jack of all trades. I never know if you're being CEO type of person, or if you're actually just one of the consultants at the desk, just stuck in the code, making sure something's working. You've got touch points, fingers on all the pulses that we've got going on in the heartbeats, which is great, because it also means that there's always someone that you can come to, even if you don't have the answer. You've always been someone in the company that kind of represents where that answer is going to live, and that's part of that learning journey. And
thank you.
It's collaborative.
Thank you.
Vibe. That's Opti-Num. Okay, great. Is there anything more that you'd like to add?
No, I think we've covered
anything
most
you'd like
of it.
people to know about Opti-Num that we haven't covered?
I think we've covered a lot. Well, a lot happens in 32 years, so we've covered
true.
32 years in a couple of minutes. But hey,
I think maybe next year we need to consider a podcast episode where there isn't an Opti-Num person talking to you. I would really value hearing some questions come out of a client, someone that we've worked with for a long time.
Right.
I think they might tease out things that maybe we don't even see, that whole notion of things that we don't easily see ourselves when we're in it.
I think it'd be fun. I'm open to having a chat like that. I think it'd be great fun.
Okay, let's talk about. I'm sure a couple of names came immediately to your mind.
They did.
Great. Thank you so much, Grant. Thank you for joining us for our final episode for the year.
Thanks, Adri. It was fun.
Thanks for supporting our episodes for the year. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We hope you had a great time. You can catch us anywhere where you catch your podcasts.